Hi, hello, I'm Sam Harris and I read, review and discuss fantasy and science fiction books, and today we're doing something a little different. So, I have to make my top 10. I'm going to film it sometime over the weekend, and in order to film it, I have to have worked out what my top 10 books are. So, what I thought I would do today is talk through my thought process and film me going through all of my books and deciding which ones belong on the top 10. So I don't know whether this will be fun for you guys, but it'll be fun for me. I've got a glass of whiskey. It's Friday evening. Anyone who does not like chaotically produced videos should probably stay away from this bad boy, because we are going to get in deep. So we're going to go straight into the old Goodreads. Basically, my plan for this video is run through every book I've read in 2024 and then cull my favourite ones out into a possibles list. I already know what my favourite book is, so I've got my number one, but I'm looking for 2 through 10. I'm not really interested in honourable mentions, but I might end up doing that. But for now, I think that we need to get straight in. So I'm going to go in order here, although, as I said, I do know my number one, but the rest of the list, I kind of have vague ideas. But one of the reasons why I go through my Goodreads is my memory isn't infallible, isn't incredible when it comes to books that I read in January, February. For example, I was thinking about this list the other day, and I hadn't even considered or hadn't remembered that I'd read Demon in White, which is one of my favourite books of the year. So, it's not that it wasn't memorable, it's that I'm old and I can't remember stuff. So, what I'm going to do here is at the top, I'm going to be putting, it's going to be above me, I think. On the top of this note, there's going to be possibles, and then below will be actuals, and then probably below that, the actual top 10. So let's in fact, we're going to start straight away with some possibles, and then actuals, and then the ranking. Let's do this. Okay, so possibles, I am going to put wind and truth on here. If you hate typing noises, I'm real sorry, but there's nothing I can do about that. Winter's Heart. So I know that Wind and Truth, not Wind and Truth, I know that Wheel of Time is going to be on this list, but I need to decide which one I want to put on there. Lord of Chaos has been the one that I thought of as my favourite for a really long time. I think it's going to end up being either Lord of Chaos or The Shadow Rising. Dragon Reborn was really good as well. We're just going to put on here Wheel of Time and then in brackets pick one. And maybe I don't pick one on the stream today. Maybe I have to sit down and read through my thoughts and rewatch my reviews on these books. But for the time being, I'm thinking probably either Lord of Chaos, Dragon Reborn, or Shadow Rising. But let's move down. So, Vicious by Victoria Schwab, R.V. Schwab. I did really enjoy this book, but I don't know if it's top 10 worthy. We've got 53 books to look through here. I don't know. I really don't know. I've got a lot of time for this book. I liked the structure, the storytelling structure. Do you know what we are? We're going to put it on here. I'm going to put it on the possibles. Fury of the Gods is not going on the possibles. It was quite a disappointing read for me. I have loved the other two books in the Bloodsworn Saga, and I will be reading John Gwyn's other books, and as soon as he puts something new out, I will be reading that. but the last book didn't really do it for me. So I'm not going to worry about that one. Okay, so the Scarlet Witch book, What If Scarlet Witch. I did really like this book. One of the things that I like to do is to have like my number 10 spot is often a book that I really want to highlight and want to talk about to my readers outside of like specific reviews and stuff, and want to showcase to a wider audience. And this book does feel like a number 10 spot book. So I'm going to roll that, I'm going to put it in. What if Scarlet Witch is what we're going to call it. Thanks for the auto typing there, Apple. Okay, so and now we come to what is my number one. So this Return to Edan is my number one. I've known it ever since I read it. I had a feeling, I was like, oh, will Fury of the Gods unseat it? But obviously I did not love Fury of the Gods. And then I was like, will Wind and Truth unseat it? And I did love Wind and Truth. I did really love it. I have basically no qualms with it. However, I do think that Philip Chase did something a bit more innovative and interesting with Return to Edan, which is why I've put it in my number one. So I put that in already, but we'll put it in the actuals. Because then we need to, I probably want there to be 10 in the actuals before I start, into the old ranking. New York Minute, this was a novella, really good, really enjoyed this one. I think probably the best novella I read this year, but I don't know. Do I want a novella on my top 10? It's difficult because I really liked how it took the noir detective story tropes that we had, that you're used to, and gave it this kind of like fantasy leaning and gave us the like fantasy version of New York. There's a lot of really interesting stuff in this book. I want to add it to the possibles. This one's gone in bloody bold as well. I shouldn't have done the bolding. That's really ruined me here. I like formatting. Okay, so all three deck collection books are here. I think my favourite deck collection book, Soul Fraud, is great. Star Summit is great. Deck collection is still very good. They're all 4-star books. But I do feel like Soul Fraud might be the best. And I think I want to put one of these books in. So Soul Fraud is going to go in the possibles. The possibles list, by the way, could be like 20 plus books. But what we're going to do is, as I said before, it's going to be one book per series. And so here I've chosen Soul Fraud. Soul Fraud is likely going to go into the real ranking. But I want to get all the possibles down and then start putting possibles into actuals and then start ranking the actuals. That's kind of the format here. Princess of Ordeer and Silence is Silver were both decent, but I'm not going to be putting any books that I felt like were kind of 3-star reads in my top 10. There will be a Hybrid Helix book in my top 10. I'm really enjoying the one that I'm reading at the moment, but I haven't finished it. I'm almost halfway. There's going to be a Hybrid Helix. I don't know if it's going to be Eyes of the Empire, which I did really like, but it could end up being the previous one, book 4, Shadow of Hyperion. I think that one ended up being the most exciting. Soul Stealer 100% is going on. I'm tempted to just throw it straight into the actuals, I'll be honest with you guys. Soul Stealer. And we'll come back to the actuals later. Recursion was fantastic. Really loved Recursion. Recursion is going on to the top possibles. You can see what I'm saying about the possibles list is going to be massive. Silverblood Promise. This is a thinker. Because I really liked this book. However, have I thought about it again since? No. Do I think Civil Blood Promise is better than some of the books already on my possibles list? Yes. Is it going on the possibles list? No. Okay. Artemis is my favourite Andy Weir book. I had a lot of fun with this one. This is probably, of all of these books, the one that's most likely to get cut from the possibles list I have so far. Yeah, I did really like Lord of Chaos. I feel like Lord of Chaos really nailed it. Wandering in. So, for the impact that it had on me as a booktuber and a reader, kind of maybe deserves a slot. A lot of this video is probably going to be me going, I'm going to throw it on, but I do have a few issues with the ending of the book. So, yeah. Infinity Gate definitely is going on. I think Infinity Gate could almost go straight down into the actuals. That was a real surprise and a real joy for me this year. But let's keep going. Surviving Westcliff, right, is a perfect number 10 candidate. I'm going to add that on. It might end up supplanting What If Scarlet Witch. If I'm going to use my number 10 slot to call out, yeah, I think it's going to be Shadow of Hyperion, actually. That will be going on the list, I'm sure. Should I just throw it straight into the actuals? Yes. Okay. So we've got 4 out of our top 10 already. Will of the Many was really good, but I had some issues with it, so it's not going on. Demon in White 100% is going on. Excellent book. Tainted Cup, no. Liked the ending, hated the beginning. Annihilation, I've kind of skipped by a few things here. So I'm not going to put any. I already know I'm going to put Demon in White on, so I don't really need to talk about any Sun Eater stuff. Will of the Many. Yeah. I feel like this one was just too hyped for me. So it ended up being a bit disappointing. I liked where we ended with that book, but I'm not sure I liked that book overall until where it ended, if that makes sense. I think I've said this in every video I've talked about it, but I read the first 400 pages over like 2 weeks, and the last 200 pages over like 24 hours. So loved the ending, struggled until we got there. This is a short story, so I'm not doing a short story for story of the year. Short story of the year, absolutely. Ryan Kyle, congratulations, short story of the year from me. Annihilation was good. I liked it was the only book that I read last year, the only book that I read this year that had this kind of like dream-like quality. It was more interesting in the way that it was written than a lot of the books that I read. Is it going on my list? I honestly don't know. What should we throw on the possibles? Tainted Cup. Yeah, we talked about that. Good, not great. Promise of Blood. I really like Promise of Blood. I haven't really thought about it much since. Yeah. That could get cut easily. Let's keep moving. Queen of Midnight, we've already talked Sun Eater. There's a couple of Sun Eaters here. We've talked Hybrid Helix. Trials of Empire was pretty disappointing, sadly. Dragon Reborn, what a banger. What an absolute banger. I don't think any Red Rising books are making it onto the list. Blood Rain is a really good indie book that you should check out if you ever want something that is like an absolute blast and super fast paced, but isn't going to make the list. Howling Dark, we talked about. We've talked about Red Rising. We've talked about Wheel of Time. We've talked about. We haven't talked about Tyranny of Faith. Tyranny of Faith. I really liked Tyranny of Faith. I didn't like it as much as Justice of Kings in hindsight, and I think I may re-rank down to a 4 out of 5. Yes, we're going to re-rank. Yeah, Tyranny of Faith. I think that I want to call attention more to the rest of these books, because again, that story's kind of left my thoughts and it's not the best in the trilogy, so I feel like I kind of want to be talking about best of the best here. So, what is up next? Return of the Griffin. We've talked about Hybrid Helix. There is a Hybrid Helix book on the list. Prophet of Adan. There's an Adan book on the list. Sunny 2. There's a Sunny 2 book on the list. Wheel of Time. Red Rising. We're done. That's it. Those are the books. Those are the books. Right. So now we want to let's minimize arc and let's. Oh, there's some. I don't know what this warning is. I can't read it. Let's just full screen this with the bookies. Right. So we've got 4 actuals. Should we take the actuals off of this list? Yes. I do kind of want Soul Fraud on the list. I don't know which Wheel of Time yet. So I really don't know. I think honestly I'm going to have to come back to this one. The Wheel of Time book that goes on the list will likely be there as like an illustration of my feelings on Wheel of Time in general. And I'll talk about that in the actual video. But for now, I don't know where it's going to go. I think that if we were being anything other than... I think if we're going to be honest, it's been the year of Wheel of Time, and I think Wheel of Time deserves to be number 2. Let's keep looking. So, what else has gone down? So, Infinity Gate is on there. And then, okay, Infinity Gate, Hybrid Helix. Is there anything that's doubled up yet? And doubled up still. I do want Demon in White on this list, I think, because it's got such a banger of an ending. It really invigorated my love for that series. Demon in White deserves to be on this list. I think I want Wind and Truth on. I think I want Wind and Truth on the list. Okay. Let's delete Demon in White off of here too. Okay. Let's give it a bit of space. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've only got 4 books left. So if we're looking at this list, what 4 books do we want to showcase? I think Soul Fraud. I'm torn between Surviving Westcliff and What If Scarlet Witch. Let's take Soul Fraud off. And I think I actually want Recursion and Artemis on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, we're on the last book. So we're in the final stretch. What is making our number 10 slot? I really enjoyed What If Scarlet Witch, and I think that it's rare to get a tie-in novel that makes the top 10. I do want to draw more people's attention to this book, because a lot of people will look at it and go, it's Marvel, okay. But I think that the way that Shauna Maguire retold the story of Wanda and the story of Peter and wove those together was really interesting and really well done. Do the minor quibble that I have with it is it feels like you get through the whole of the story and then she's like, oh shit, I need an ending, and so she pulls together something. There were a few hints through the book towards that ending, but it didn't feel like there was like a big bad until like 80% into the book. And one of the things that I've found with novels and stuff is it often it's more interesting, I think, if you have an established kind of antagonist or antagonizing force that is built up through the book, and that's the problem that Wandering In has as well. But then Surviving Westcliff does kind of a similar thing in that it kind of all comes together right at the end. There are some interesting hints through it, and I did think that I think the character's name was Baron. They were a really interesting character, and I liked how they were written. They were kind of like Matt from Wheel of Time, Matt Cawthon, if he was more of a dick, but also had more of a past. Annihilation is something that's really interesting, but do people need me to tell them to read a extremely popular science fiction book that has been made into a film with Natalie Portman? Probably not. Was it number 10 enjoyable though? I honestly don't know. I think we need to do some culling here. So I think we're really talking about. I think we're talking about these 4 books. I love the beginning of Promise of Blood, and I love the ending, and I love the detective character called like Adamar or Adalan or something like that. Promise of Blood was a real banger, but I felt zero draw to read the sequels. Should that be? I mean, the same could be said with Annihilation. This is how the sausage is made. If ever I make a list or I do like a tag video, there's like 2 hours of deliberation and note taking before the results of said video are actually available. So every time you see me do a top 10 list or a list of any kind, there's a lot of work that goes into it. Let's building the list. And it's funny, isn't it, that it's taken me so much longer to like put together this top 10 than it has to like pick my number one. Like I knew my number one basically as soon as I'd read it. I remember really vividly reading the prologue, the opening prologue, and being like, oh shit, like I had goosebumps. I was just so excited to be reading that series again. Okay, I'm gonna next Promise of Blood, I think. Or is Promise of Blood gonna be it? No, I'm gonna nix it. So now we're down to a really popular book that everybody loves that I thought was quite interesting, and an indie fantasy that I really liked and really want more people to read, or a tie-in novel that I really liked and really want more people to read. Did I love this novel because it had Spider-Man in it? There's a lot of really good Doctor Strange in this book too. I love Doctor Strange. Anyone curious, I'm drinking Aberlour single malt Speyside whiskey. I'm a big whiskey fan. I rarely take the time to sit down and drink it, but I thought that today building the list was a really good opportunity to do that. So, what's it? Sláinte. That's Irish, isn't it? Prost. Is that a Viking one? I don't know. Anyway, I've just been blabbering and filling time because I don't know what to do about number 10. Maybe one year we'll make this live and everyone can be like, oh my god, you're making a terrible decision. I feel like I want to talk about Surviving Westcliff. Yes. I want to talk about that more in the Game of the Year, Book of the Year video. I want to highlight that more. So, okay, now we're into the end game. Doctor Strange GIF. Right, I know that I want Surviving Westcliff to be my number 10. Let's have a look at this list. Do we have any thoughts on what is top half and what is bottom half? I think Wind and Truth is top half. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we need to build a top half and build a bottom half. This is just thinking rather than actually, doing. Wait, no, Wheel of Time isn't here. I forgot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, I forgot Wheel of Time. Fuck. Okay, one of these has got to go. It should probably be Surviving Westcliff, shouldn't it? That was the one that just pipped in. Is there anything that would go out over it? Honestly, no. No, the rest of this list is too good. Okay. So, right, Return to Adan and Wheel of Time are on the list. What deserves to go next? Demon in White was a banger, but Wind and Truth was better than Demon in White. Was anything on this list better than Demon in White? Infinity Gate, maybe. Soul Fraud. Soul Fraud is more like my kind of book, It's like Soul Fraud and Shadow of Hyperion, so like the deck collection and the Hybrid Helix are like my books. They're books that like really speak to me personally as a reader. I think Soul Fraud's going here. And then, this is not me saying specifically that I think that Demon in White is worse than Soul Fraud. This is more me saying that Soul Fraud spoke to me more. Honestly, to be even nominated in this top 10 is an honour. I read a lot of fantastic, but I don't really finish books usually that are 3 stars. Like almost everything I read is 4 or 5. So, you notice if you look at my Goodreads, like the 2 things that I finished, that was like the things that I finished that were 3 out of 5 were like finales in series or novellas. And, it is hard to do like a 5-star novella unless you're Ryan Kyle. Like, even Brandon Sanderson can't do a 5-star novella, in my opinion. Okay, so we've got 5 books left. I wonder if Artemis is going to be my number 10 now. I had a lot of fun with Artemis, and I want to try and convince people to read it because it's a lot better than the reviews made it out to be. I think Artemis is my number 10. What of these is the best? Probably Infinity Gate. Okay. I'm just going to unbold them all at the end. I can't be bothered to go through it now. Okay, so Infinity Gate. Then Soul Stealer or Recursion? Recursion. Then Soul Stealer. Then Shadow of Hyperion. Then Artemis. Shadow of Hyperion feels so low here. It feels too low. It feels too low. How do we feel about this? Should Wind and Truth swap with Soul Fraud? Should Infinity Gate swap around? Recursion was genuinely fantastic. It was such a great thrill ride. I read it so quickly. It feels like a strong placing for it there, if that feels right. Is it better than Infinity Gate? Infinity Gate was just so smart and so nuanced, and it had a really interesting setting, and the world building was great. It's a duology, which is exciting. Recursion being standalone is also good. I feel strong about the top four, kind of. Maybe Recursion should go up. Was Soul Stealer better than Shadow of Hyperion? Damn. I honestly don't know. Maybe we do this. And maybe we do this. Oh, I don't know how I feel about this list. Here's the problem, right? We have number one, which is my definitive number one, and there's no ifs, no buts, no coconuts. Return to Adan is the number one. Wheel of Time for everything it's done for me in terms of my obsession with this series, my love for those characters, the amount of fun that I've had, not just reading it but discussing it. I feel like Wheel of Time is number two. Wind and Truth, very similar. I was preparing for a book that I was going to think was just okay. So I liked The Lost Metal, but I feel like every Sanderson book that I had read, aside from Tress of the Emerald Sea, so every Sanderson book I'd read since like Oathbringer, I'd felt was on a little bit of a downward curve. And we're not talking like he's cooked. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like Sanderson had been a 5-star reader with some 5-star reader, 5-star writer with some 4-star dips, and he is starting to become a 4-star writer with some like 3.5-star dips. Does that make sense? I don't think I'd ever really feel like he needs a 3-star book. Sunlit Man was 3-star for me. Dawnshard was 3-star for me. Rhythm of War was 3-star for me. And like going from Rhythm of War, I was like, well, the last Stormlight book that he wrote was a real disappointment. So my expectations were very low, which meant that Wind and Truth, it was very easy to exceed those expectations. See, normally when I do like Game of the Year, like I used to do on my podcast, we would have like a full on debate. So I'd have someone to bounce this stuff off of. But I think that, does this list feel right? See, the thing is, this book is like, I've ranked this list, right? But it's basically Return to Adan right at the top. No ifs, no buts, no coconuts. I'm saying it again. Wheel of Time, close, very, very strong. And obviously, like I said, I will pick a book. Wind and Truth, excellent, but below Wheel of Time for me. Not far below, actually. And then everything from Soul Fraud on down, I would say is the same. level of quality. Like, honestly, the same level of quality. So, well, these books could essentially move, shuffle, wherever. I'm tempted to move Recursion, you know. Swap Recursion for Demon in White. It's more impressive, I think, that Recursion had such a thrill ride, and I got so emotionally invested when it was like a third of the size of Demon in White. Should I swap it? I think we're gonna swap. I think we're doing it, lads. I think I feel good about that. It's very sci-fi heavy. Bottom half of the top 10. We got one fantasy book in the bottom half of the top 10. Okay, I think we're good. I'm going to go through these again. So, number 1, Return to Adan. This is by Philip Chase. Number 2, A Book in the Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. Number 3, Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. Number 4, Soul Fraud by Andrew Givler. Number 5, Recursion by Blake Crouch. Number 6, Demon in White by Christopher Rocchier. Number 7, Shadow of Hyperion by J.C.M. Byrne. Number 8, Soul Stealer by L. McInerney. Number 9, Infinity Gate by M.R. Carey. And number 10, Artemis by Andy Weir. So, yeah, I think that's it. I think we've done it. We've nailed it. Thanks so much for watching. So, yeah, thanks for watching. Please do comment down below what you thought of this list, all the mistakes that I've made. Please like the video, and of course, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to see everything that I'm going to put up over the Book of the Year period. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.